share uh, to my audience. Whenever you want to submit a paper, you must be careful about these 4, 5, 6 points. Then you can submit, you can proceed further. That's all. So this is actually writing a paper is also an art. So you must be, uh, you must choose the title of the paper must be very impressive, and then comes the abstract. Abstract must be uh, short and uh, informative, and then you can proceed for the other sections of the paper of the article. That's all. So these are my few suggestions to the audience. Whenever you start writing, you must be careful. You must uh, be, you must check these 6, 7 points before submitting the paper in certain journal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs. It was indeed quite informative and enlightening. Next, we have on board our resource person, Professor Rashid Nehal. Before requesting, it's my honor and privilege to give brief intro of our resource person. Professor Rashid Nehal is a professor in the Department of English at AMU. He has served as director of AMU Kisanganj Center, Kisanganj Bihar, and regional director AMU Kisanganj Center. He has also served the Center for Distance Education AMU as assistant director in addition to performing various administrative assignments. He has been teaching ELT and communication skills courses over the last 26 years. His research and teaching interests are professional communication skills, ESL, writing, teacher training, and NEET analysis. He previously served the Department of English at Rajiv Gandhi Central University, Arunachal Pradesh, India. He has a PhD and an MPhil in ELT from AMU and postgraduate diploma in teaching of English from EFLU, Hyderabad. He has been visiting faculty at IIT Dhanbad and was on external faculty at EFLU, Hyderabad. He has published 32 papers and has made 45 paper presentations for national conferences, seminars, and workshops. He has done e-courses on teacher development and ESL, EFL assessment from Indiana University School of Education and University of Oregon, USA. He has worked as workshop coordinator, teacher trainer, resource person, master trainer for more than 60 national and international TOT workshops, including REL American Access Program and for UGC, HRDC, AMU. Besides, he has been invited to deliver talks and as plenary speaker for various national and international seminar conferences and workshops. He has organized more than 30 faculty development workshops at AMU and at its Kisanganj Center too. He has completed UGC projects on academic writing and training needs analysis and has also been the project coordinator for Hornby Alumni Regional Indian Project. Aligarh Regional on Material Adaptation funded by the British Council ELT Group and Hornby Trust UK. As part of the Kindle Assessment Project team, Professor Hall has completed a RELO project on Kindle Mobile Learning Initiative funded by American Center for English Access Micro Scholarship Program centers in India in association with UGC HRDC Center AMU. He has published in the areas of teacher education, ESL, writing and needs analysis. His recent publications include Training Needs Assessment of Secondary School Teacher, English Teachers in Aligarh, Technology, Mediated Language Teaching through a Kindle-based mobile learning initiative in India. The Access Experience in British Council Documents Investigating Pragmatics Awareness in Language Forum. He has authored a book on writing for audience and edited a volume on critical pedagogy. Currently, he is reviewer of SAGE journals on ELT. He has been program advisor and resource person, training program for madrasa teachers, Center of Excellence in Public Policy and Government, IM Kashipur, in collaboration with Maulana Azad Foundation. Ministry of Minority Affairs, Government of India. Recently, he has launched online English training and tutorial program for madrasa and minority teachers, the first of its kind in India under the aegis of OET PMT group. With this introduction, I would request our resource person, Professor Rashid Nehal, kindly give us your inputs on this online workshop. Sir, over to you. Please proceed.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fatima, for your kind words. And I'm grateful to Bharat Digital Academy for giving me this opportunity amidst the presence of such a galaxy of people coming from different streams. I'm also grateful to Mr. Rafiq sir personally that he has taken this initiative to organize such a good program for research scholars, right? And this is a very different type of program because it really asks for some kind of research enterprise, research skills, research product, the research papers that you need to write, researches that you need to do, right? And the kind of expertise that you need. Just now, Professor Mursaleen sahab has highlighted very important points regarding how to do a good research and what to do when you start submitting your papers. 90% of the time we do not spend on how to do this part of the business, which is very important. That what kind of journal it is, what kind of writing it requires, and what kind of scope that journal is having, so that the publication becomes relevant to the academic needs. Yes. Sorry for the disturbance. So this is an area that requires a lot of rethinking. What has been going on, that we think that there are certain very established concepts and canons of doing research, very established, and probably we need to understand that, well, these are all principles that can be applied. My concern is very different right now. How practical can you be in doing your research, in doing your academic writing part, where you develop certain strategies, you develop certain ways where you can have a very clear knowledge of the target audience, who is going to read your paper, who is your reader. And if you're not clear about that, that creates a confusion. Why? Because you are writing for something else, and your intended audience is someone else. So if a good paper, if it's not put in the right journal, your entire energy has been destroyed and your entire efforts have been destroyed. I don't have much time, but then one of the important part that is very important, that sometimes we devise writing a good paper as on a very ideal scales. These scales are selecting a very good topic, but it should not be very ambitious one. Good topic you can choose, as Professor Mursaleen Sahib has pointed out. Relevant topic, it must be relevant also. A good topic may not be relevant. A very good topic of research may not be relevant. So you need to understand that what is good for you may not be good for your audience. So you have to analyze that part of your topic selection. And when you start doing that, keep in mind the action research kind of thing. Another kind of genre which is very popular, that I can imagine things on a very bigger scale. That is fine. But why not to see that what action research can be implied in that area? So when you are beginning to write a paper.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Participants are requested to kindly mute their mic. There is voice disturbance. Participants are requested kindly mute their mic. Sadia, thank you. Sir, proceed. Sir, proceed.
Yes. So what happens that sometimes we have a very big research plan, very big scale of research, and that happens at the time of doing PhD. That happens at the time of doing very big research projects. This can be realized, and we can bring in all the types of assumptions in that research. The research is always based on certain assumptions. Remember this fact, that when you have an assumption of this nature, that I'm going to finish my PhD in 4 years of time, 1 year for project writing or research writing, 4 years of field work, data analysis, right, and 1 year for, right. There are certain assumptions. In the same way, you must always think of when you are doing a paper writing, that is academic writing part, paper writing, when you're going for a paper writing business based on your PhD or during your PhD, right? Can I think of an action research part of the part where it can be, things can be, you're doing the same thing, the same kind of research, but it should be action oriented, and you can work on certain theoretical reflections, modeling part of the idea, and what is something that can be practicable. So in practice, what is going on? So if you are a chemistry teacher, I'm sure people are coming from different streams. People come from different streams. Yes, I think so. Yes.
Sir.
So if you are doing a research in chemistry and you are planning for a big paper, before you plan a big paper, think of how practical this work is going to be. From a small scale research, you can move on to a very big paper research gradually. So this is what, when we talk about theoretical, taking a training in theoretical reflection, and from theoretical reflection, you model a paper based on good papers, right? Based on your own assumptions of research, then try to see the same paper from a lens of your own camera, not the camera of a big research papers. It will come, virtually it will come. It will come to your table automatically when you have started doing the scaling down. So it's not, this kind of inquiry is needed, that is, we call it as the action research. Normally what happens that for PhD, we think that because you get 5 years time, so you have a plan, big plan research, you have 5 chapters to write, you have 6 chapters to write, you have 7 chapters to write, and therefore your research skill is bigger. But I'm talking about at a practitioner's level, if you're teaching political science, you're teaching Hindi, or teaching English, or teaching history, economics, or any other discipline, or teaching journalism even, what can be practicable to me in writing a paper? This is important, and that is where I am hinting at, that the systematic study of practice, which I am trying to say, that practice where it can provide a basis for theoretical reflection of what you have already been thinking of under assumptions, under different assumptions, that this is my new theory coming up, right? This is a new theory. This is a new area of nanotechnology, or this is a new theory of a mathematical equation, right? Or historical research, or archaeological research, or research in herbal medicines, or research in well-being and wellness theory that is coming up. Can I think of a basis where I can work out a practitioner model or not? Slightly at a smaller scale, but keep the theory in mind, the theory that enriches you. So one aspect. And this kind of inquiry is known as action research. So what is doable and what is actionable, right? Think of that part of the research, which is good for your paper writing business. Because what happens, language theory, theories in journalism, theories in economics, theories in history, how these theories have not been discussed over the years and they have been accepted with other kind of assumptions, then you will get that practitioner model before you. So I am referring to that aspect of research, which is very important. Why? Because that gives you precisely an idea. As here I can write to publish. Here I can be different from others because I have thought it differently on this issue. I have identified a topic, I have evaluated a topic, and I have formulated a problem that is very important, that is very commonplace in the workplace situation. So that is the feature of an action research. That means if I have to talk about, right, what are the role of government in improving the economic system of a center-state relations, right, or financing of center-state relation, role of the central government. If this is the topic, is it going very big? Which area I'm looking at? Am I looking at the Indian situation or the West I'm keeping the West in mind? So what kind of structure I'm having? So I'm referring to that part where it is important to analyze the topic in the everyday workplace situation. That is how you become little realistic about choosing a topic. And when you start looking at this angle, that I can formulate a research problem or I can problematize a research problem in this way that it can be realistic, keeping the site in view, keeping your own surroundings in view. That is normally most of the time. Yes. This way, that it can be realistic, keeping the site in view, keeping. So this particular aspect, I mean, there is this particular aspect is important, and then you're consulting with the interested groups. PhD training part, if you have learned to do a good paper and a good publication based on some of the finer tips given by a very experienced tip given by Professor Mursaleen Sahab, I think your job is well done. And that is what he was referring to, that you have to be a little strategic in choosing a good publication, choosing a good, area. And then one thing more, sometimes people publish so many good papers in a variety of journals, and they are lost. Their research potential is so high, but they are lost. Why? Because you are switching from one area to another area to another area, and that creates a problem. Because that temptation is very high. So if you work out your area of research, your area of interest, in terms of access, in terms of context, in terms of your own research inclination, and then decide to think the same problem differently, we are bound to create a lot of effect. Because what happens, that in social science and humanities I can talk of, new things start, people start flocking like a sheep to another area. Very good researchers, they are talking about so many different things. And the same person has done very good research in his original, he has given original findings. So that viability, that is gaining access to text, gaining access to institutions, gaining access to resources, and managing the data, you must have the ability to record, keeping of the data, the tracking of the data. In an age of digital age, if this has become a easier thing to do, it is also a challenging one, because you are in that information overload is a big challenge. From information overload, you have to go to the analysis part, the interpretive part of the research. That brings quality to the part of publication that you are doing. And you see, for example, if you are working on a very sensitive subject, like, or if you are working on a phorcenic linguistics, or you are working on what is the functioning of a drug control bureau, how do they access people the data, and you are not maintaining the anonymity of the person, the confidentiality is not being taken care of, you will not get access to the data. So this is one aspect. Then comes the issue of validity or reliability, which you know very well. I think many of you, the researchers who are here, and they are, some of them might be very experienced one. They must have done very good papers, I'm sure. But I'm sure that people just go by this logic that, well, I can make my research reliable, I can make my research valid, I can make all the principles they apply very well. But they do not understand that writing a good paper means there are other considerations that you have to begin with. Other consideration is like that your access part is important, your context is important, your reading of the context is important, rereading of the context is equally important. Where it is, whether the work is being done at Delhi or it is being done at Aligarh or any other place. And then in some of the disciplines like sciences, it doesn't matter. A plus B whole square is the same, having the same results as that of in America. So their research considerations are different. Right. But there are other considerations where a researcher can bring all those changes. And when you say all these things, that this kind of validity will ensure my research concentration and objectivity of the research. And you have quantitative methods of research, you have qualitative methods of research, you have mixed methods of research, you are writing in your thing. So that part is very important, and that is very common in the hard sciences, as I tell you, hard sciences, that you secure an objectivity to research by testing hypothesis. Hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2, 3, and all that. And through structured and controlled method systems, you control the variables. You are controlling that experiment part is going on, and you are hardly bothered about that context, right? So if you know that if you have to make a mosquito run away from a particular medicine or from a particular herb, so you are controlling the variables, you are performing experiments, and then you are writing a good paper. Sciences. So, but on the other hand, what happens in qualitative research, it is important to explore a situation or to understand an environment where the participant's perspective is equally important. Qualitative research. It is inductive in nature and it is exploratory in nature. It's not the objectivity that we are talking about, right? It does not mean that objectivity is not there. And then, unlike the quantitative part, the context becomes very important here. Qualitative part, the interviewers, who is interviewing, where it is being interviewed, in what conditions it is being interviewed. That adds a great significance to the research. And if it is leading to any theory building exercise, that is the novelty of your paper. That is where I was hinting at, that doing all that you do and you write a good paper, you do a good interview. By doing a good interview, you are coming to the results. Your results are showing very good results are coming up. But have you identified your own variable, what made the results so different from others? That could be the title of your paper. And if that could be the title of your paper, you have to identify journals accordingly. That which journal is going to pick up this type of papers, where Professor Mursaleen was hinting at, right? And then the same understanding of a particular situation, of a particular environment, right, adds a novelty to the research. That probably the world will look at you, okay, this thing is happening in India also. This kind of situation is happened and it has been reported so, consistently, and it has been reported very factually, very nicely, and with good interpretation, right? With minimum biases, wherever you can minimize those biases. And that could be a paper for publication. So the practical nature of problem, which I was trying to say, the practitioner's problem, whether he is a science teacher, whether he is a economics teacher, whether it's a language teacher, whether it's a journalist teacher, he is a journalist, right? Or he is belonging to any discipline, right? If he is ensuring that viability in research, which I was trying to say, issues of access and management, viability in research, then ethical considerations in research, the anonymity and the confidentiality of research, then the validity of research, that quantitative, qualitative, inductive nature of research, objectivity in research, right? And trying to see that, well, qualitative research may not be generalized to other situations. Whereas in quantitative research, you can generalize to so many other situations. You can generalize it. So that difference if you can make out of your paper, just by the way of looking at the methodological treatment that you can make to the study, that brings closer to your practical nature of research that you can do and the papers you can publish. So publication can be of many types and it can be on various fronts. But if I'm going to add to some kind of contribution to my research, it should be based on thinking the same problem differently. once I'm getting an expertise on that, when I feel that yes, by 4 or 5 publications I can do that, think of a situation. Then you can think of a situation where new topics, new areas can be, new vistas of research can be explored. So this is one aspect that you always try to see, how you try to make things out of complex reality that you are in, complex reality. So, and it should have a proper assumptions about that, how realistic could be you are going to be. If these assumptions are not clear to you, you are guided by the former assumptions. You are guided by the textbook assumptions of research. That research should be like this, it should be like this, it should be didactic in nature, prescriptive in nature, and all that. Should be like this. I'm not talking about should be like that. I'm talking about when you describe a research, when you describe things in a research paper, you must know what you are describing at. So this is where a particular understanding of reality, and that too a complex reality, particular understanding of various multiple data resources or sources, or you say that, well, it can be a concept of triangulation of data, quantitative data, qualitative data, right? Mixed method research, right? Mixed method research design, right? Why there is a need for that? Is it adding to your research paper quality or not? Think of that. And what is happening nowadays, that since student A is doing this and it is done in this area, I also follow the same thing in the area, because we understand that this is exactly it is needed, but some person has done it. So you will have to rethink on the assumptions as qualitative only, quantitative quality only, mixed method research designs only, and then academic writing only. This is one aspect. Now you see, there is another view on which I want to bring. Another concept is ethnography, which I was coming down to this aspect, that when you say no data, when you say no data can be absolutely free of the effects of the researcher. No data. That is what I mean to say, that if you are doing research in, not simply in, research in humanities, social sciences, some biases already enters in writing, in representing the data, in interpretation of the data. It is automatic, those biases. You can minimize only, but you cannot rule out those biases. Okay, so there lies what we call it as, or we make a statement something like that, well, it cannot be free of the researchers' intervention in a different way. Now, when this thing happen, effects of the researcher, so you need to understand that there are certain risks involved in producing that kind of data that is having some kind of human element, some kind of your own bias. On the other hand, you cannot always produce a very artificially contrived data. So what happens, that ethnographically oriented methods are taking a prominent note in understanding the real life complex reality situations, and this is going to add a kind of an experience, the quality of experience. This quality of experience is important for your publication point of view. What experience you bring into the paper. So another dimension of having a good quality is that you bring a good variety of experience shared by when you do a research. And see, you study a social group. If you're a person from sociology, from economics, you are working on any tribal studies, you have to look at these angles based on the recording of the behavior of the participants, voices of the participants over a period of time, and then you generalize something, and then you rule out. And then one very important part is that in such kind of studies, language plays a very important role. So representation of reality, complex reality, goes through, it is being filtered through language only. What words you are choosing, whether it is going to mean the same thing that you have experienced, or it is just a word coming, you are feeling short of, and you look up for a thesaurus. You look up for a dictionary for that. So that time we should be careful that the production of a research paper or the reception of the research paper, the production of an idea, the reception of the idea, it should not be done in isolation, it should be done in context. The text is very important. Your texting is very important. The way you put things on paper, that is important. Very careful representation is needed. So these are ethnographic and naturalistic approaches to research, that how you can work on the data part. And or you can work on a very sensitive issues. There are certain sensitive issues of area where it needs a lot of training of the research. It requires a lot of training. How you can be an outsider to research, how you can be an insider to research, how you can apply a quantitative methods of research, qualitative methods of research, ethnographic methods in a naturalistic setting. And you see, what is happening most of the time, we get data from social science and arts, I'm talking about, from Pratham, from different reports, ACR, annual status educational reports and something like that, annual survey reports from different bodies, or National Sample Organization, NSO. We only take the figures. For figures, it is important. But it is still not giving us a clear clue as to what is actually happening in the field. When you start looking at writing a data, writing a paper in the field part and connecting it with that figures, or questioning the very assumption of those report under certain conditions, that itself becomes a good quality paper. And that is what people are doing. That when you do that, you bring so much of novelty to your research paper. You question the assumptions. So these are all factors that, and there are other things that I would like to mention. That when you say I'm using a questionnaire, I don't know how much time I have got. Ms. Fatma, you will be able to tell me, right? How much time do I have?
Yes, sir, you had time. We are 7 o'clock.
Okay, I have time till 7.
Yes, sir.
So when you have a questionnaire, and the purpose of questionnaire is to have a focused elicitation of respondent self-report data about action and attitude. सबसे बड़ा जो, where I will feel that the most serious problem of research that is happening in social sciences, that the questionnaires are not giving you the right clue, because you have framed a very good questionnaire and people are not responding to it. You must have seen that because of last 2 years, people have been sending so many questionnaires to the respondents. They can be teachers, they can be students, they can be from various categories, but they are not responding. Why? Now, because they think it's too heavy on them. It occupies a lot of time. You're asking more number of questions. So you have to think now on these grounds. This is the thinking point. What to do? Another aspect is interviews. You see, methods of investigating. I'm just talking about methods, right? You make it adaptable, and the same elicitation becomes interactive in nature. And that is why the self-report data is cross-checked. You are talking to the person concerned, and you bring a lively interaction with him to verify, to understand the self-report data. When you are talking about focus groups, I'm talking about the methods. The first one, you began with the questionnaire. The second one, interviews. The third one, focus groups. And here, you are trying to interview a group of people in a particular setting, say about 7 people, 8 people, cohort studies, right? You are making it and you're continuing it for a longer time. So you start focusing on them on focus groups. Another important methodology is verbal reports. You have a retrospective accounts or think aloud reports of thoughts while composing. While you are trying to take an informant's view, can I approach his or her thinking process? Sorry. So this is how, and then another part is written reports, that you can access diary or log reports of personal writing or field notes that the person has collected or learning experiences. So these research methods adds lot of understanding in the terms like, and then you move on to observation. You observe a person. You see how the person is speaking, what is speaking. You observe his behavior, her behavior in that particular situation. And then you try to deduce something. And then you also, another way is to collect certain text, authentic samples of writing in a natural context, text we call it. And then you go for experimentation, manipulation of a context to study a single feature, single variable under controlled condition. What is the effect of this particular thing on that particular thing? Say, for example, the effect of, on a particular medicine on the plants. You're controlling other variables. And then after that, you thought that, well, this is a tribal problem. This is a typical marginal problem. This is underprivileged groups. So you thought of thinking of a case study. Multiple techniques you apply to capture the experiences of the participants of the target group. So whether it is a questionnaire, I began with the questionnaire and all that, right? Questionnaire, interviews, focus groups, these are all methods of research writing, because in every case, if we are not clear about our target group and their assumptions, our research writing is at risk. And another important aspect before I close, that, and I will open for interaction, that is about the genre part, that what kind of writing I am going to do, what kind of language it needs. So, and a very simple example is that the language of a newspaper is different from the language of an academic book. Similarly, the language of chemistry is different from the language of economics. And it is different from the language of law. So this is because of disciplinary conventions and norms, language is different. The same kind of situation is there when you move to a particular research. The same journal, is having a very different kind of style. It follows a different style sheet. The language of the abstract is very different. They're not using a routine kind of language. They're using a very, very highly technical vocabulary, where the focus is on a very different part. Whereas in some journal on the same topic, you'll find that the vocabulary is very different. It has to be very simple. It has to be very non-technical because the audience is different. So the genre is very important, as there are not one kind of abstracts available throughout the journal. Each journal has got its own way of stylizing its own abstract. That becomes a style also later. That is not the issue. That falls beyond the scope of my discussion here. What I'm trying to say, that if you approach a good journal, like very established journal like Nature, you'll get a different kind of feel of language there. Whereas a good journal that is specializing on a very technical topmost journal, it has got a different language to relate to. So why it is like that? Because the genre part is important. And you see, in this part, many people have done a lot of good work, that you have to understand the nature of vocabulary used there, the nature of the academic discourse markers being used, or hedges, we call it hedges. Ultimately, certainly, these are all heard, or you see, understatement language, right? I guess, I'm not sure you're using all the time. So here you are trying to be very careful with the use of vocabulary, use of language, use of expressions, and use of punctuations, which are very specific to that journal. So study the format of the journal. That is what Professor Mursaleen was telling us in the beginning. Study the format. Study the nature of the abstract being written. And then if you shape your abstracts, your writing, of course, it takes little time, but then people do it and then they publish it. So that is where his idea of being strategic was being conveyed to you. So this is, and then see, whether you are following any method, any system of inquiry, any research inquiry, the idea is that, do I know my audience, where I am writing? Whether the journal is based on fieldwork journal or on theorization of topics, you have to identify that. Oh, this journal is very theoretical. This journal is very philosophical in nature. This journal encourages more on fieldwork. So you cannot do this journal. You cannot send this journal just by talking about giving suggestions. No, they encourage data. They encourage fieldwork. Normally, what happens when certain observations are to be made, we choose the data and we try to analyze the data. Now, what nature of observation that journal is talking about? Participant observation, right? Whether they are talking about teacher beliefs, whether they are talking about self-report data, or they are talking about introspection. Again, this feature is very important. So depending upon the journal, depending upon the quality of journal, depending upon the impact factor of the journal, your publication is being tuned, and you are tuning it. People are publishing because of it. They keep on revising because of these features. The more they revise, they get to know why I am being asked to revise. One thing. So the text and the context is very important. And your entire moves, deciding as to what you want to study, moves, lexis, cohesion, is going through a lens. That lens can be very different one, where whatever the purpose of the photography demands. So reality is the same, the lenses are different. So that is how you work on it. And accordingly, you shape your writing also like that. So writing does not come out of blue, that you are having an idea and you can translate an idea and that writing is done. Writing is done because of the text, context, and how do you coexist with this kind of the demand of the journal. Thank you so much. Any question, please? You can ask me or interact.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It was indeed enriched and enlightened inputs from your side. If participants have any queries, they can unmute. Participants. If participants have any queries, kindly unmute or put in the chat box.
Good evening, sir. I'm Bhavika from Rajasthan.
Hello, your voice is echoing.
Yes, voice.
Can you minimize the disturbance? Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am, you can ask.
So, how many times we publish our research paper with same title?
Pardon, can you repeat your question, please?
How many times we publish our research paper with same title?
If there is need for that, you can publish the same research paper with different titles also, but different work has to be added to that.
With
different versions has to be
objectives. Sir, I ask,
yes.
Can we publish the same title with different objectives?
Yes, then the title has to be very clearly structured. If the objective is there, that is not the issue. The issue is that what kind of journal you are identifying that. Whether whatever work you have done, then you have to match the journal requirements. I mean, this is not easily answered. ये इतना आसान नहीं है इसको जवाब देना. जब तक आप जिस जर्नल पर आप टारगेट कर रहे हैं, उस जर्नल के स्पेसिफिकेशंस में नहीं जाएंगे. सो वहां के एडिटर आपको बताएंगे कि ये टाइटल से ऑलरेडी पब्लिश हो चुका है, राइट, और आप इसको चेंज कीजिए अगर आपका ये थॉट प्रोसेस है. तो दे विल सजेस्ट द टाइटल इवन.
सर, किस तरीके से ना एक रेप्यूटेड जर्नल को फाइंड आउट किया जा सकता है ना? यूजीसी जर्नल्स कई सारे उस पे ऑनलाइन आते हैं, बट इजीली फाइंड आउट नहीं होते कि किस में हमें पेपर पब्लिश करवाना चाहिए. कैसे फाइंड आउट किया जा सकता है रेप्यूटेड जर्नल और बिलोंग्स टू आवर टॉपिक, कि हमारे टॉपिक से कैसे रिलेटेड है वो जर्नल?
देखिए सबसे पहले तो आप डिसर्टेशन एब्स्ट्रैक्ट्स इंटरनेशनल है जो कि लाइब्रेरी में रहती है हर जगह पर. डिसर्टेशन एब्स्ट्रैक्ट्स, उन एब्स्ट्रैक्ट्स को जरूर देखिए. उसको आजकल तो शायद वो ऑनलाइन पर अवेलेबल है, राइट. सो यू कैन गेट अ कॉपी ऑफ डिसर्टेशन एब्स्ट्रैक्ट इंटरनेशनल फ्रॉम योर लाइब्रेरियन. ही विल मेक यू एक्सेस टू दोज फाइल्स वेरी इजीली.
Okay.
And you just see how these different kind of abstracts are being represented there. This will lead you to understand, to make a good understanding of what kind of abstracts are needed. And then there are listed journals, reputed journals listed all over the world, which you can always find out what is the impact factor, right? But there are fake impact factors, those journals से आप बच के रहिए. उसको आपको पता चल जाएगा आपके जो एरिया में जो अच्छे लोग होंगे, राइट, अपने एरिया में आप जो जिस सब्जेक्ट को आप बिलोंग कर रही हैं, राइट, व्हाट इज योर सब्जेक्ट?
Education, sir.
Education.
My subject is education, sir, and my research work.
For example, मैं आपको बताऊं, अमेरिकन जर्नल ऑफ एजुकेशनल रिसर्च बहुत बहुत अच्छा जर्नल है, राइट. सपोज कीजिए
ओके सर,
आपने उसको टारगेट किया, तो उसके हिसाब से ही आप फिर अपना सब चीज सोचेंगे कि राइट, या तो हम दूसरी तरीके से जाएं, जर्नल के हिसाब से हम रिसर्च करें, ये बहुत रेयरली होता है, या अपने रिसर्च को हम रिसर्च कर लें और फिर जर्नल को टारगेट करें. दैट इज वन थिंग. सो दैट इज हाउ यू लिस्टेड. दैट इज वेल नोन. मेरे पास और भी बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं, राइट. लेट मी आंसर. सो
हेलो सर.
यस
Sir, good
thank you,
evening.
sir. Thank you so
Good
much.
evening. Good evening. Yes.
Sir, my domain is English literature.
Yes.
So I wanted to know, like it's quite easy for me to get paper published in a UGC care listed journal, but when it comes to Scopus or Web of Science, so it becomes a bit tough. So, sir, can you provide a few tips, like what things should
वो
take
जो
care of?
वही टिप्स है जो कि प्रोफेसर मुरसलीन साहब ने बताया है, राइट. आई एम गोइंग बैक अगेन एंड अगेन दो टिप्स. अब पहले जर्नल्स को आइडेंटिफाई कीजिए, उसके जॉनरा को पकड़िए, राइट. वो क्या जॉनरा है, वो क्या डिमांड करते हैं उसमें, और उसके हिसाब से जो आप रिसर्च कर रहे हैं उस हिसाब से जर्नल में आप पब्लिश करने भेजिए. लेट दैट जर्नल रिजेक्ट यू सो मेनी टाइम्स, राइट. उसी से आपको क्लू मिलेगा. और मतलब वेरी, मैं तो यूज नहीं करूंगा कि हार्ड टू पब्लिश, बस we'll use the term that we have not tried there. That's why it's seemingly comes to this assumption it's very hard to publish. But what is important, what was important point was that you have to see that the topic framing should be very clear. Your plagiarism check should be done absolutely clear, right?
Okay.
And then you have to see the impact factor of the journal, the scope of the journal,
Okay.
right? Whether it matches with your requirement, and just send it.
Okay.
Just send it. They will definitely get back to you within 2 months, 3 months, 4 months time, right? If you have an original idea to share with you, right?
Yes.
Some good journals also, they understand, their good editors also understand the idea is very original one. If it goes for further revision, right, we can chisel out the best of the things that are coming up. So that is important, right? Sometimes the good editors, they are good readers of our mind, so they bring out the best out of us, and they know that it has got a very good idea. For example, you are giving a very new idea, and you are lacking somewhere in expression, somewhere in grammar, somewhere in mechanics. They do not reject it outright. They give you comments. So please come up with this kind of revisions. And if you are able to follow up that, you have a chance of publication. So that is happening, right?
Okay. Thank you so much.
And thank you. Then see, I want to know what the publication eyesight journal impact factor. ये सारी चीजें जो आप क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं, impact factor, these are all आपके एरिया के जो लोग हैं उसमें आपको definitely they will tell you कि कौन से एरिया में किस जर्नल में कौन सा अच्छा जर्नल है, उसको आइडेंटिफाई करें. दिस आर ऑल वेल नोन. लेकिन साथ साथ आपको ये भी क्लियर रहना है कि यू शुड नॉट बी यू सी कैरिड अवे बाय फेक इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर्स. इसका ध्यान रखिए बस, राइट, इसका ध्यान रखिए. सो दैट इज वेयर द इम्पोर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट इज दैट कि बहुत सारे जर्नल्स they are claiming that they have got a very high impact factors. क्या really they are good at? उसको आप you can always go for a check. You can always check it on the internet. आपके अपने जो एरिया के लोग होंगे वो आपको फौरन बता देंगे कि इस एरिया में टॉप जर्नल्स कौन कौन से हैं. 4, 3, 4, 5, 10 जर्नल्स हैं, वहां पर टारगेट करने की बात है. Yes. So I think whether the question is whether it's an impact factor or any other factor, it amounts the same thing. You have to do a little bit of search there. There is another question coming that what kind of research, that is from Zareen Mahmood. what kind of research is better for academic writing, data-based or theory-based. No, that is not the concern. That academic writing you do only to represent your research. So even if you are, it's a data-based or it's a theory-based, you need writing to do it. You have to see what kind of journal you are looking at and what kind of language that journal is having in which you can yourself represent yourself. So this is what the practical side of the publication part happens, that I must look at the abstract of a journal. I must look at the body of that journal. I must look at how they start the first line, what are the right conclusive part, what is the structure part, and that is the academic writing issue. So see, it's basically you don't have to use that, well, writing is just merely a translating tool. No, writing is not a translating tool. Since you have a research work done, that is why you are writing. तो उसको ऐसे देखिए.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, please.
सर हम कैसे पता करते हैं ये फेक है सही जर्नल है? देखने में सब एक ही दिखता है और लिखने के बाद वो फेक आ रहे हैं. हम कैसे पता करते हैं सर? कोई तरीका है?
No, experts in the area will definitely tell you. आपको बहुत simple solution बताए. You just find out the experts in the area from your college, from your university, right? They will definitely tell you what are the top rated journals in that area and where you can approach, right? They are all listed, whether it is UGC care listed, either it's not care listed, or it is an international journal, or it is a journal coming from scope. They will definitely tell you. These are all well known, right? But जो बहुत सारे journals जो ऐसे होते हैं, there are so many journals who are they are just giving their advertisement that our journal is having an impact factor, high impact factor. You can verify that, right? You can just ask your colleagues. You just ask your colleagues, they will tell you. A very simple thing. Instead of looking at the internet and finding out a lot of time, right? You just ask. You can just Google it and also you can find out. But before that, ask the experts in that area who are coming from, if somebody is from education background, ask the most experienced professor in your field. They will be able to tell you. That simple solution is there. And they'll give you the sites to tell. That is what we have been doing, right? For example, in my area, for example, ELT. The ELT journal is rated to be the topmost journal. We know it right before even when internet has come. Journal of Applied Linguistics is a top journal. Or ESP journal is the top journal. And similarly, there are other American Journal of Educational Research is a top journal, where impact factor is very high factor. How do we know? We just know because we have visited library, we have done researches there, or we have just visited library. The library has shown that these are the best quality journals coming from the field of sociology, economics, mathematics, and all that, any other field, chemistry. These are well known. People they have not been trying in the well-known journals, and all the trash journals have come on the surface and they list your articles, and sometimes people get promotions out of that. That does not give you a kind of a license that you cannot search. You can always search and you can always make out.
Yes. Rashid sir, am I audible to you?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. I am Maltaf Ali and I am doing PhD in Library and Information Science Department under the supervision of Dr. Mohammad Nazim. So, sir, I can Dr.
Under the supervision of
Dr. Mohammad Nazim.
I didn't hear the last. Where are you doing research at AMU?
Yes, sir. I am from Department of Library and Information Science.
Library and Information Science. Okay.
And I am doing PhD with the Dr. Mohammad Nazim, Associate Professor. So, sir,
Dr. Mohammad. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, sir, I can answer this question that the many participants are asking. How can I identify journal in our in their own areas?
Mm-hmm.
So, sir, please give me only 5 or 6 minutes at last. Then I will explain to all those.
Sure. Take 2 minutes time and please help the participants. Please,
So,
yes.
am I audible to each and everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
you
sir,
are
very
audible.
much, sir.
Now I am going to show my screen, and then you can learn the practically. Very first thing in introductory part, I would like to say you that it is not very hard to find out the journal. It is very easy. For example, if you are willing to publish your research in open access journal, very first thing, are you getting my point? All of you? Then very easily just go to the DOS directory of open access journal. There you can find out all the legal and exact journal. They are no there. Make sure that and be easy that there is no fake information available there, because that is a directory that is maintained by the expert. DOS directory of open access journal. DOAJ. Okay. Another thing, if you are bothered about the impact factor and the reputation of the journal, no matter are you willing to publish your research in Indian born journal or foreign born journal. So it is very easy. There is a database, namely SciMago, ACIAMAGO. I am going to show my screen so you can learn practically. So Rashid sir, may I show my screen?
Yes, sure. Please.
Yes, sir. Is it visible, sir? All of you?
No. Yes.
Okay. So just we need to just go to the Google, and here I need to just type ACIAMA. Just click here, and you will get this kind of page. Is this visible to all of you?
Yes.
And look at my
Yes, sir.
cursor. Look at my cursor. Here is a point that is written as general ranking. Okay. Then just click to general ranking. And now look at this. The first one is the all subject areas. The second one, all subject categories. So I was listening that there are 1 or 2 person who are talking about the stream education. So just click
Yes,
here.
sir.
Just click here. Type education. It is visible. Are you getting? Now you can see all the journal that is related to education you can get from here. Look step by title, review of educational research, type journal, HGR score, H index, total documents, and the country, United States. If you want to search all the education journal that is related to India, then just click here, search India, then click here. You will get all the journals that is Indian born. Can you look the symbol of Indian flag here at last? So now you can see the number of journals in education are 10 number of journals are available here. Okay. And another thing, if you want to search all those journals which are indexed in Web of Science, then you can see my cursor, only Web of Science journal. So now you can see there are 5 journals that are, those are only related to the education, and they are also indexed in Web of Science database. I hope all of you know knew about the database Web of Science. Okay. If you want to search open access journal, then you can remove it and just click open access journal here. Now you can get the name of open access. So there is only one journal that is Indian born, the namely Journal of Education and Health Promotion. It is open access journal, and the remaining information you can see here. Okay. Another one, you can also find out the journal related to the education that is indexed in Scopus, and for that you have to go to Scopus database. I think all of you got the answer of your question. Those were asking to Rashid sir that how can they get the journal or exact journal.
That is a very useful information that you have shared with us, Mr. Altaf. Right.
I'm thankful to you, sir.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. It is very useful.
Yes. And even then, even after doing that, also you can always uh, consult your colleagues, senior colleagues, and people who are experts as which one would be more practicable, something like that. You can always discuss with them, right? There could be 100 of journals listed in your area, right? So see the journals very carefully. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Sir,
Yes.
can I ask one question?
Yeah, sure, please.
Sir, I'm Dr. Jamila T. from Malappuram.
Yeah.
Sir, my question is that I am a BA teacher. Many of my students ask me, can they write their articles in journals or anything? Is there any specific criteria that it should be a PhD degree holder or those who have enrolled for PhD just like that, sir?
I don't think they need a good research paper. It can be done at any stage, right? And it's not that a PhD is an important thing. Some journals may look up for those things, but I don't think so. I mean, a good research paper can come from any quarter at any level, right? So that you have to find out from the journal details, right? That whether the what kind of audience, if the journal is satisfied with your work, they'll publish it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
They'll publish it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Sometimes MA students, they do very good publication part as an MA student. They are not, so because of their background or because of their hard work, they do it. They do publish it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, participants. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank
you so much. Yes. Okay, it's already 7:14. Now is the time to end our workshop. I'm highly grateful and present my word of thanks to the organizers, delegates, esteemed and worthy speakers, and of course our participants who actively participated in this workshop. I'm hopeful and optimistic that our participants took benefit of this workshop. And with this, we end our session. Thank you, everybody. Hopeful. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Rafiq sir, shall I end?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
Inshallah, see you, sir.
Altaf sir, can I talk to you?
हेलो जी यस मैम एम आई ऑडिबल
Yes, sir. Altaf.
anyone was asking question
Yes, sir.
yeah
Have your contact number and mail ID.
yes you can ask question now you can ask question now
अल्ताफ सर, आपने अभी ये नंबर ऑफ जर्नल्स बताए थे एजुकेशन के लिए. आपने कहा था कि ISSN नंबर जर्नल पे जाके आप रैंकिंग चेक करेंगे और ये सब चीजें ना. प्लीज कैन यू शेयर PDF इन पर्सनल नंबर, माय पर्सनल नंबर?
वो actually there was not PDF. I was giving you as a live demo from a database. That was not PDF.
I know, sir, but this is so short, but it is very useful. But that is मुझे थोड़ा सा क्या समझने में थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम हुआ, तो मैंने इसलिए आपसे पूछा ये चीज कि कैसे मैं इसको फाइंड आउट कर सकती हूँ. और ये इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर का क्या इशू है?